I said we are working to make Burkina Faso the graveyard of terrorism. When someone is recruited to come and fight in Burkina, it should be so that they would rather commit suicide. And that will happen because they equip them, they train them, and they give them technology, these criminals. But we are constantly adapting. Right now, we are in a rather unique phase. They have acquired new technologies, new combat techniques, and so on, thanks to the support of these imperialists. Now that we have studied the situation, and we are going to respond immediately to all of this. So you will see, terrorism will come to an end. I don't want to set a deadline, but terrorism will end, and very soon, as quickly as we possibly can. And from Russia, all we are really asking for is mainly intellectual support. Help with intellectual training for our military industry, which we need to develop, and help to train young people in everything we can develop to confront this war. This is the part that interests us the most.
And more specifically, what materials or perhaps what equipment interests you the most?
First of all, I want to say thank you. Because Russia is one of the few countries in the world that has provided us with military equipment to help us fight this war. So that is significant. Apart from Russia and China, there is no one else. Otherwise, it's even worse elsewhere. There, we want to pay, but they refuse to sell to us. But now, they have understood that we are at war. Russia is also conducting its special operation. We know it's not easy, but if, despite that, they were able to provide equipment and come to give it to Burkina Faso, I think that's already very important. But as I said, Russia is also helping to train us. For everything we purchase, Russian soldiers train Burkinabe soldiers on how to use this equipment and all that. But we want to continue developing our own military industry, Vokompu, with the support of Russia, or Rosatom, which I would say is far ahead of the world, when it comes to weaponry. So we need to have this close collaboration so that we can make progress in our war.
Thank you very much. In recent years, there have been major changes for the Sahel and for each of the AES countries in particular, such as, for example, the definitive break with ECOWAS, and also the adoption of their own symbols, like the common flag. In this context, how would you describe Burkina Faso before and after? And how do you assess the alliance of Sahel states as a format for regional cooperation? Are there any plans for expansion, perhaps?
Yes. To understand the AES today, you just have to look at the African youth. I think that African youth are hopeful that this is a model of unity. And for us, the leaders of the AES, it puts pressure on us, and we have to succeed, because Africa now needs to unite. We were in an organization that was supposed to be one of solidarity, cooperation, mutual assistance, and all that. But you can't be in an organization where you call each other brothers, and then at some point they cut off the electricity so that patients die in hospitals. The economy comes to a halt, and banks are closed, so you can't access anything. Transfers you need to buy basic necessities, medicine, and so on. These were blocked for some Sahelian peoples. They even formed an army to come and fight against Sahelian peoples. While terrorism has been raging for decades, they have been incapable of sending a single soldier to help fight. These are not brothers. We shouldn't fool ourselves. And it's not the people, it's the leaders. Otherwise, when you look at the people who, even in these ECOWAS countries and all, the people support and understand the momentum of the AES. So that reassures us and encourages us to organize ourselves, to be a model, so that in the future, it can expand. But in order to expand, we need to establish strong foundations. And that's exactly what we are doing right now. So that's more or less what led us to withdraw. And
okay, so if minoxidil left you greasy and itchy, then you need to try this. I was using minoxidil for hair loss, but the side effects were a deal breaker. Greasy scalp, constant itching, it was frustrating and honestly disappointing. But here's the thing, I wasn't ready to just sit back and let my hair fade away. But after doing my research, I found Phoenix's hair loss treatment. It's skin contact free, so no greasy residue.
I can say it's a lot of pressure. It's pressure. You shouldn't let it turn into delusions of grandeur. It's pressure. For me, it's a message that the youth are sending me, and that puts even more pressure on me. If I used to manage to sleep 2 hours, now I've cut my sleep down to just 1 hour. And if you shouldn't sleep, you shouldn't sleep anymore. Because they must have seen something surely that we're doing. Something that, in their view, could help Africa get out of this situation. For us, it encourages us, it remotivates us to keep fighting. That's why I say it's pressure. It's a very heavy responsibility. And I can promise that all we can do is not to betray, to keep following our path of Pan-African struggle. We hope that it will inspire all African youth, and that the Pan-Africanism we long for so much can become a reality. Because Africa has suffered a lot. It's time for us to unite, to work together, to develop ourselves. Just as Africans go elsewhere to see the world, to see money and everything else there is. In Africa, it's possible. It is possible. So this is our mission, and we are going to take it on.
Mr. President, more and more African countries are asserting their sovereignty and demanding the withdrawal of Western troops from their soil. Recently, for example, Chad, Senegal, and Cote d'Ivoire have made similar requests. In your opinion, where did the West go wrong in its relations with the African continent?
Well, what I know is our own situation. We were at war. We lived with Western troops and all that. We saw, and we decided to part ways with those troops because it doesn't fit with our struggle. On the contrary, it actually amplifies the problem. As for the other countries that have separated, I can't speak for them because they made their own decisions to separate. But then President Macron said that he was the one who told them to find a solution and all that. I can't get into that debate. Only they know the truth. But one thing is certain. You can't talk about sovereignty while having another country's army on your soil telling you what to do. The economy, education, the entire development of a